Hey, it's Brock here from Rock Hill Farms, and I've got my friend Brian from the YouTube channel McClure Made Outdoors, and he's brought his Summit tractor over here today, and we're going to see if it can handle my implements, because I have a little bit bigger tractor, a little bit bigger implements, and we're going to try to do some real work with it and dig a drainage ditch or a swale that runs from the overflow on the pond down to the ditches by the road. So I think it's going to be a good test. And then I want to get Brian's thoughts on how he likes this tractor. He traded this in from a 2025 John Deere to this 25 horsepower Summit. So I want to get kind of a review from him. Now, this is the point of no return for you, Brian. We're going to do some real work today. You sure you don't want to opt out and go home?
I guess we can give it a go.
It's supposed to be hot today, so if you see him doing all the work, that's why. Anyway, let's go up to the barn, and I think first thing we're going to do is put the tiller on. Okay, good. Roll forward just a tiny bit. Okay, let's stop there doing PTO. All right, so we're not going to run this tiller on this tractor because the PTO shaft looks like it needs to be cut down about 4 inches. All of my attachments would be slightly oversized for this. They're sized for a 38 horse tractor. This is 25. And I think it would still handle it just fine, but we're not going to cut a PTO shaft down, and I don't want to run any risk of jamming this shaft into his transmission and causing damage. It would be really tight to put it on, and we could disconnect this, put the shaft on, and then back into it. But when you're doing that, you know you're taking a risk of damaging something. So I'm going to put the tiller on my tractor, and then we'll use the blade to move dirt with his tractor. Well, I was planning to say nice things about that Summit tractor today, but if it can't even handle this, all jokes aside though, anything I buy attachments for Deere, the PTO shafts are the right size, the right length, because they have an ideal tractor that this sized tiller is going to run on. So if he was buying this same tiller from Deere, they'd sell him one that's one size smaller and has a shorter PTO shaft. But it is something to factor in, so we're going to see. My quick hitch sets 24 inches from the far end of the PTO shaft. I'm going to go see what his measures. 21 inches. Doesn't sound like a big difference, but I think it could have been enough to cause some damage. So we're not going to mess with it. Another little thing is my guard for my PTO moves and his is fixed. I saw that with the LS tractors as well. It's not a huge deal, but it is a little bit nice to get a little more clearance for your hands while you're pulling the mechanism and sliding that PTO on. So normally I always use my hydraulic top link, and today would be a great day for that, but I can't because last time I used it, it sprung a leak and I haven't replaced that hose. So I had to extend this arm way out to pick this up, and because we're on a hill, now I'm going to have to shorten it way back down to get it to ride level. Oh, look at all this extra room we have around the PTO shaft. I wonder if all tractors are like that. Before we start, we gotta mow the area that we're gonna do it in. I guess we wouldn't have to, but it'd be better to mow where we're gonna be tilling. And I was just thinking as I drove this thing up here, how much I like the Hustler name. Not just the fact it's a good mower, I like the name. I like the idea that when you say Hustler, sometimes there's an implication that that means you're trying to rip someone off. But I hear it, I just think, yeah, I hustle. That's what I do every day. More the better. I need to get my fuel caddy set up over here, but I stacked a bunch of bags of concrete over around the corner where I can't roll it around the end, and I can't drive my mower in there. So I'm gonna spill some fuel. I don't know how well I explained what I'm doing here, but this is not just for the pond overflow, because pond doesn't overflow very often, and it could just run out into this field if it does. But I'd like to route it down to the road, but the main thing is this just holds water anyway. 2 different times I've brought dirt down here to raise the level of this spot, and I guess I was assuming the grade instead of using the transit level, and it still holds water. And right here is where I got the skid loader stuck, because I dug that borrow pit and sunk the skid loader down past the tracks. And the fact I took out clay and put back topsoil and rocks and stuff makes this spot a swamp. So if I could get water to flow through this, it might drain this spot too. So I'm gonna mow a path right here, then I'm gonna go get the transit level, and we're gonna make sure that we put a grade on this. Now this looks like it needs a brush cutter. What do you think, Brian? You think the Hustler can mow this?
Not too bad.
What's a little waist-high grass, you know, between friends? As I was finishing mowing the other day, I actually hit a big piece of pipe, and I think I probably bent one of the blades, or definitely dulled it up, because I almost cut this steel pipe in half running over it. Anyway, it's cut. Finally got all the prep work done. Got the tiller on my tractor. Got the 6-way extendable rear blade on the Summit tractor. Ready to start moving some dirt. The last thing I've got to do is get a general idea for, does this already have slope now? And see what we're gonna have to do as far as making sure it drops as it goes down. So walking that with the grade stick was all good news, because every spot I checked it appeared to be continuing to drop. There's a little bit of a hump over here where it really almost just flattens out for a little ways, and I think that was stopping water from running down. But also just over a wide area, it's not gonna flow as well. So I think this is gonna be easy grading. After we get the initial trench started, we might do some fine grading. So let's just drop the tiller right here and drive straight down there, and then all the work will be done with the Summit from then. If it's got the oomph to do it. We may have to switch over to mine. I don't know. Okay, so we've convened a session of the planning committee to decide what to do. And actually, I've done this a few times, and every time I've done it completely different. I think I've dug 3 swales. I call them a swale, it's a drainage ditch, whatever you feel like calling it. Each time I've done it differently, and this time it feels like I have the perfect tool for it, but I can't decide how to use it. So on the back of your tractor, we've got that blade that can offset and angle, and we can tilt it to shape this. But it feels to me like there's so much loose dirt in there that if we just start trying to do that, you're gonna go 10 feet and have excess amount of dirt. I'm trying to decide if we should just start shaping it or if we should go through there with the buckets and scoop all that dirt out first.
I have no idea.
You don't have a plan? Here I thought we'd get 2 brains together. I know Brian well enough. He's a smart guy. He knows how to do things. Used a little bit of equipment before. You got no thoughts, huh?
I mean, I'd probably start using the blade, but you have more experience than me, so you may.
Why don't we just sink the blade into it and see what happens? Big bonus to this that I didn't even think about till just this minute is I really want some nice green grass up around the koi pond, and I'm out of dirt to do it with. We didn't kill this grass that's in there, we just stirred it up. So all the dirt that comes out of this can go around the koi pond, and I'll have grass growing pretty quick. So, all right, I guess we're just gonna offset that blade, sink it into the middle of this, and see what it does. So it feels a little bit like this isn't working or like it's wasting time, but that's not actually the case, because it is putting an angle on each side of this, which is what we want, and it's windrowing the material into the center here, which means we're going to be able to easily scoop all this dirt out with the tractors. Just use the front loader on both machines to get all this dirt moved, and then try this again. So 2 questions. First, what do you think about the technique there, the way we were using that to try to make that swale? Does it seem effective, or?
I mean, it seems like it's cutting down, but it's piling everything in the middle.
Yeah, I wish I could figure out the geometry of how to make that push the spoils to the outside, and it just doesn't seem like I can with it offset. I think if you don't have it offset, you can do that, but once you offset it, you don't have enough rotation to make it push to the outside. But I do think it's going to work now because we've got this nice row of loose dirt in the middle, and it's going to make it easier to scoop it out. And it has started to shape the outside edges.
Yep. That's tampered down a little bit.
Yeah, you can see that right now, if the loose stuff was gone, we have a slope to the middle.
Yep.
So what do you think about the Summit TX25 pulling it? It didn't grunt too much, did it?
No, just that few times where I got down a little too deep, started getting that dirt that, yeah, you didn't till up.
And when this blade, this is a 7-foot blade, it's probably almost too big for this tractor, and it's got dirt mounted up so thick that it's almost touching your rear tires. That's what you call giving a tractor a workout. That's hard pulling. And the only time I saw your wheels spin even was when you came up the hill turning. It seemed to handle it just fine. So I think we'll both run at the same time with the buckets and get all this dirt, and we'll pile it up there by the pond, if you don't mind.
I guess so.
I guess. I'll give you a free water if you'll help.
That'll work. That'll work.
Couple quick housekeeping notes before we start moving dirt. Number one, in the pinned comment and the description of this video, you'll find a link to Brian's channel where he plays with puny little dark green tractors and does a lot of other stuff. And then you'll also find a link to my new Facebook group, which is a place we can all interact with each other. So if you've ever wanted to show me a picture of your tractor, click the link, join the group. Got about 70 people in there this morning, the first day of the group. I think it's going to be fun. So we don't yet have that V shape that I'm looking for out of this swale, but the dirt patch we've been working on is lower than it was because we've taken a lot of dirt out of here. So I think we just need to repeat what we did, basically same thing one more time. I also put the box blade on my tractor to help. I have a feeling a lot of comments are going to tell me basically to flip this blade around the other way. We can't find an orientation where it pushes the dirt out to the outside. Both of us looked at it and we pulled all the pins out and swiveled it back and forth, and I just can't get it to do that. I would. All right, so I've now got to run this a couple times, and I do a lot of tractor comparison videos, but it's actually hard to do tractor comparisons because nobody I've compared with has the same size machine as me. Yep. And so this is not meant to compare to that machine. I would say that's a more effective dirt mover than this.
Yeah.
It pushes more dirt and it's got a bigger bucket, and it's supposed to. It's a bigger, more expensive machine. But what we're trying to compare this to is other 25 horse tractors. And you came directly from, I think, the perfect comparison for this, which is the Deere 2025.
Yep.
We know that this is a good price, and it's got a lot of the extra features. In case you guys don't know, this has a mechanical self-leveling loader, third function, rear remote hydraulics, loaded tires, all stock included in your base price. But you've got a few hours on it, had this about 6 months. What do you think about it compared to a 2025R?
I mean, so far, really the only reason I switched to it was all the added extras, because I wanted to put them on my tractor, and just looking at how many thousands of dollars I'd be spending just to do that. But so far, coming over, I very rarely had any problems with my John Deere, and this one I've only had 2 problems ever. And a lot of people, their biggest thing is, well, is this thing going to be serviceable? And my first time, I called in and got a hold of Jake, and he immediately sent me out a replacement bolt that was going on, and I mean, it shipped right out of Arkansas. I had it 2 days later and had the part put on. I had another problem a couple months later, another bolt that I needed, shipped out, put it on a few days later. So far I haven't had any problems service wise with this at all.
Customer service has been
Yep.
easy to reach.
Yep.
You bought this at Atwood's, which I think
Yep.
they're for sale at all the Atwoods now. And what my understanding was that they're reaching out to existing tractor dealerships that sell other brands and asking them to add Summit to their list of machines they service.
Yeah.
Is that what you've heard? Or?
Yeah, so the closest one that was around me at the time of buying this, if I had a major problem, was driving down to Rogers, Arkansas, which is about an hour 45 for me, 2 hours. But a couple of weeks ago, they actually added Galena. They actually have a Mahindra dealership, and they are now people that can actually work on it.
So
they're
5
getting more and
minutes.
more.
5 minutes from me, there's a
Yeah.
dealership that has a great reputation that will service these.
Yep.
So I think compared to your subcompact 25 horse, this is a little bit bigger, more powerful machine. And there are companies that make an even bigger, more powerful 25 horse, like the 2515 from TYM. But I think I've been surprised by the number of people who've walked up to me and told me they were really thinking about Summit. And it's for the reasons you said. The price and features are better. I think you sold a used 25 and
Yep.
got enough money to buy a brand new machine like this, and then you didn't have to pay to add your third function and
Yep.
stuff like that.
It was basically about a $500 difference that I sold mine and bought this.
I still have the same 2 complaints that I had about it the first time I ran it. First is that none of these 25s seem to have a auto throttle. I'm a huge fan of the auto throttle. None of them have it. This one doesn't either. Also, something I've noticed on some other tractor models that I don't like is when you let off the pedal, it coasts farther than I think it should.
Yeah.
I feel like letting off your hydrostat should be like a brake pedal, and on this, sometimes I'm hitting the brake. But otherwise, I think it's pretty good value, and I appreciate you coming out and helping me dig this ditch.
Yep, thanks for having me.
And I'm going to let Brian get home. He's got other things to do today. I'm going to finish this sucker out, and then I've got another project today. So, always a good time hanging out with you.
Well, yeah, always fun.
So my neighbor just came over, and I probably told you guys about him before. He's like 80 years old, and he's got a horse that's 32 years or 33 years old. He says that horse looks like it's might not make it through the day. It's laying down like it's gonna die. And, you know, that's a sad deal. But he asked me if I could go dig a hole for it. And I think what I'm gonna do is finish this this trench or this swale tomorrow. Go put the backhoe back on and get that work done for him. And I'm not gonna video that, and I'm not gonna charge him anything, and just, you know, be a neighbor. And so in the next video I put out, we'll probably be finishing that trench. But I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. Put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.